Hello, gamers. Just jumping in before the episode starts to let you know that you can also find me talking about Brockhampton on this week's episode of Album Rebrews. Zach and Sarah were kind enough to have me on their podcast, and we had a lovely conversation about Brockhampton's 2018 album Iridescence. Link in the description, and on with the show. Hello, gamers. Welcome back to another episode of the Cuddlepunk podcast. I am your host, the mastermind, the dumbest girl alive, Veronika Vexed. With me today,
Woo!
She is a technically former bandmate of mine, which is crazy. You know her from all sorts of hyperpop wonderfulness. Estelle Allen is with us today. Estelle, how are you doing, baby?
Hello, I'm so good. It is 4:56 p.m. in New York City right now. It's fucking cold as shit outside. I'm allowed to wait, I can curse, right?
Oh, absolutely, babe.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it's really which is kind of a bummer. It was getting to like 50 degrees the past couple days and everyone was going outside getting super hyped. I like watched the Bob Dylan movie and was like, I'm gonna go to Washington Square Park with sunglasses on and fucking vibe type shit. And now it is cold again.
It's
So
the exact same thing in Chicago. Like, it was warm for like a week, and then it's gone back to like it's the same degrees it was last week now, but there's no fucking sun whatsoever, so it's
ooh.
still butt cold.
How do you deal with like the vitamin D deficiency? Do you take like supplements and stuff out there? Like what's your like cold strategy?
I mean, I grew up in Massachusetts, so like the cold
Hmm.
is not like anything that I'm not used to. I Every time that I like try to improve my like skincare or my actual like health, it ends up just making me sick, or I end up breaking out or some shit like that. It's
Mm,
very annoying that way.
no real. I kind of feel you. It's taken me a while to figure out like cold weather skincare because like my
You were in
shit.
LA like a little while ago, weren't you?
Yeah, I moved here in September. So very different. I mean, I've lived on the East Coast a couple times before. I lived in Brooklyn when I was two, and I've lived in Jersey, and then I went to college in Boston. So I've definitely done this kind of weather. Just doing it as like a adult who's responsible for herself and needs to figure out how to not like make my skin be shitty and my mental health. It's obviously a very different thing, but I feel a lot better equipped to deal with all that than I did last time I lived in a cold place.
Are you yet another one of the legendary Berkeley dropouts?
I am.
Let's go. See, I'm from Massachusetts. Like,
Yeah.
that's my home state. So, like, no, we know all about you.
You've been you used to go to like Alston basement shows and shit.
See, that's the problem, is that I had no idea about anything. The closest I made it to was, so I've been in a couple of videos for Ice Nine Kills, like the metalcore band, and I got
Mm.
to see them perform their first album like 10 years later at the Elks Lodge in Peabody. That's about like the most I've done for like house shows in Massachusetts.
Gotcha. Well, when I was at Berkeley, there's like a part of it's where Aerosmith used to live. There's like a smaller neighborhood called Alston.
Yeah.
Um, it's where like the DIY and I mean, I wouldn't know now. I haven't lived there since I was like 20, but that was like where the DIY was, and there were a lot of just like really cool, really strange bands that would have shows because you'd have that mix of like kids that were going to music school, so we're learning these like really weird kind of compositional concepts mixed with like this very alternative attitude. So you'd have people that were listening to like Mac DeMarco and like emo stuff and like kind of this more left of center rock music and then blending it with like all the weird shit they would learn at school. So you'd be getting like emo riffs in like weird mathematically complex time signatures and like also with this kind of strange sense of humor. Like there was one band that only did songs that were like shark themed and they would always be in like 11/8 and it was just like a guitar player and it was really cool.
That's fucking brilliant. I love that so much.
Shout out Massachusetts.
Shout out Massachusetts. The one like really cool DIY show that I remember going to was my first summer back from college. It was at Rest in Peace, Great Scott, by the
RIP
way.
Great Scott. Oh my god.
Rest in
Yeah.
Peace, Great Scott in Cambridge. It was Maxiel, Retirement Party, Cheem, and Old Soul in
Okay, word.
2018. It was a sick lineup. Oh my God. I wanted to ask, you've moved recently. Do you have your own computer at this point for the music that you've been making?
I do finally. Well, I had like a laptop, but it's really old. Like I got it at college, so it slowly stopped being able to run stuff.
For sure.
Uh, it was like first I couldn't like run Discord, then I couldn't update Logic, then I couldn't like use Zoom, and it was like everything was kind of like going out of date on my computer because I couldn't update the OS. But thankfully I was able to get a used but newer one when I moved here. So I'm finally like able to, because I'm assuming that question is because I've told you before like about the house computer in LA and stuff.
Oh, so I found out about that because of Ashani, actually, because I watched your emotional labor episode.
Word. Shout out to Shotty, by the way.
Shout out HTML Jones. Brown Laura Palmer just came out. Song of
Brown
the
Laura
fucking summer,
Palmer
baby.
did just come out, and that shit bangs. The video's really good too.
It's so good. She's infuriatingly good. But no, this podcast is just like an excuse for me to get features for the shit I've been working on at this
Hey,
point.
what's like a highlight recently you've been working on?
Oh shit. It's me and Ellie with Madonna's board, with just the track that I sent you over the
Okay,
weekend.
word.
But no, we've got this thing that we're working on right now where it's like a 6-minute beat that she worked out. We're doing like this clipping esque thing where it's
Oh,
like
nice.
this woman, like trans woman with like a baby and a papoose on her back, and it's like she's got the baby and she's got a shotgun, and that's about it. And we're kind of
Yeah,
seeing where it's going from there.
that's cool. I feel like that's very like Paris, Texas coded to like
Exactly.
start with like an imagery and like build the music out from there, which is a fun way to do it because sometimes I don't know if you can relate to this. I feel like a lot of people can. It's like after you've been making music a certain length of time, or you've maybe made like a certain amount of songs a certain way, it kind of starts to get like progressively more difficult just to start from like a piece of music that moves you. Like, I used to be able to like I still can sometimes, but it used to be as easy as, oh, like this drum loop is really good, this chord progression is really good, this melody is really good. Whereas like after a while, just because of I think how the human brain works and how also the amount of information we take in every day kind of fries our attention spans. At least for me, like it's sometimes kind of hard to like just get inspired by music. So sometimes coming up with a character or just an image, like a painting in your head, is sometimes a way more effective boredom killing place to start, if that
That's
makes sense.
that's definitely how it's been for my verses as of late. The weird thing about it is that so Ellie makes all of the beats for our stuff. I've just like started like trying to create like little bad beats in Logic. I've just started exploring
Hey,
Logic for the most part, but also
awesome.
that song that we sent you that we're hopefully releasing at some point before the summer, as well as all the stuff that I rapped on for Splice Girls.
Hey,
That is my first like recorded music. Period. Like I
really?
had not worked on it. These are like the first verses that I've ever
Mm.
actually laid down for the like purpose of having them be released eventually.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm hyped you're using Logic too. Like
Oh
obviously
yeah,
I'm not like a yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I'm not like a DOS snob. It's like, a tool is a tool. But I've talked to Kat Saoirse Dream a lot about this before, or I guess not a lot, like maybe twice, but being like Logic users when a lot of people at our scene use Ableton and there's kind of a shared language around that. I feel like there's, experiences intrinsic to being a Logic user that it's fun to relate to people on that, if you know what I
absolutely.
mean.
We talked about we're not talking about Search a Dream. Let's talk about Splice Girls for a second, because that was something that ended up just like explain what Splice Girls was or is now, because we're still in kind of that limbo state in
Yeah.
that fucking Discord.
No, of course, of course. So it was this, or I guess is this like Discord chat that I started, I think last spring, with just like a bunch of people from Twitter trying to make friends and make music with some folks. And we have a bunch of like really cool songs on there still. I've talked to like a couple of folks about finishing stuff, but basically my I guess from my perspective, um a lot of shit kind of happened in my personal life around like last summer. Not anything bad, just like I got really busy and a lot of big things
You
changed.
did put out 2 entire albums last year.
I did. Those had been done for a while though.
Okay.
But it was more like I basically um I ended like a very long-term relationship, not on any bad terms, just on like we had to make a really tough decision about where our lives were going, and then I had to figure out moving to fucking Brooklyn, and like my laptop was crashing and all this shit, and then basically I didn't I still haven't logged on to Discord in like a year. I do need to re-download it on this computer for some stuff, but I think I don't want to use like ADHD as an excuse, but I think sometimes when I don't check shit for a while, I get like really overwhelmed at the idea of everything I've missed. And I know that I just have like mountains of messages on Discord being like, where have you been? So it's kind of hard. Like I've been wanting to download it, but for some reason I keep talking myself out of it because the idea stresses me out. But
listen, when I upload this episode, when this episode goes, I'll post this in the Splice Girls chat so that everybody can understand what's going on
no,
and
I
why.
mean, I've been wanting to just pop in and be like, hey, like
For
uh,
sure.
I went out for cigarettes. I'm back. Does anyone want to make music? Because I miss being in that chat a lot. That was such a fun like month or couple months, and I felt like there was so much cool music getting made, and I definitely like fumbled the ball on like keeping that going. So if people in there are still interested in making music, I would love to jump in and like get some shit started again.
We'll get some shit started again on that one for sure. Like again, that was like making music because of that group was the first time of me being like, because there was a while where I was dating somebody. This is all pre-transition, where I was
Mm-hmm.
dating somebody who like straight up did not want me making music because they were a musician. And just
Really?
yeah, it was a weird thing. I wish them nothing but the best for the record. It's been a while. It's been a long time. I'm sure that this person has changed. I've certainly changed, but like it was definitely something where I was like holding back a lot of stuff, and especially once we broke up, like I definitely was not interested in doing like I was interested in doing rap, but I also didn't want to like be another like shitty white boy rapper, and now I'm a shitty white girl rapper, which is very different.
Hey, exactly. Damn, that's a bummer they didn't want you making music. I'm that it makes me really hyped that you chose to do so anyway.
That last song on "I Love Myself and Want to Live," think about it. Parentheses, I'm in love. That
Yes.
song. So you are obviously somebody who like has so many different like genre and influences things going on there. The weirdest one that I thought about on "Think About It, I'm in Love" was there was such big like Lenny Kravitz energy coming
Oh my
in
God,
on that one.
that's so crazy that you like I didn't even clock that, but now that you say that, I totally hear it. I listened to so much Lady Kravitz growing up. Whenever he comes on now, even I always like have to turn my head because I recognize like the song, and like there's so much melodic sensibility in what I definitely could see the Lenny Kravitz influence on that song lyrically, because that's someone that like think about the progression of like quote unquote cool since the 60s, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like there was something kind of transgressive and like drugged out and like subversive in the 60s about talking about love very broadly. Like the Beatles saying all you need is love was a very like punk thing in the context of what was happening culturally, right? And that kind of gets watered down by the time you get to like the 90s and the early 2000s, where like Nirvana kind of breaks the mold on everything, and like the counterculture shifts to a point that is like more disaffected. And I feel like the kind of shit that Lenny Kravitz sings about, there's just such a disregard for what's cool or what's like alternative. And he's just like, I'm gonna make these fucking kick-ass like pop songs that rock really hard, and I'm gonna sing about love and shit. And I think that's really fire.
I
And
think I think there's a lot of that that comes from specifically like the late 90s, like post death of Kurt Cobain and Biggie and
yeah.
Tupac, where it is very much like things stop taking themselves so seriously because that's where we get third wave ska coming into the mainstream and the swing
Mm-hmm.
revival with like Brian Setzer Orchestra and shit like that. The late 90s were very much like a let's the we saw where irony poisoning got us.
Yeah,
Let's
it's like
let's
everyone's
let's turn
so
it around.
it's like everyone is so irony poisoned that like musicians are fucking dying in like
I
many different ways.
And I feel like we're in a similar vein right now, honestly. Like with like Ethel had to put out a whole statement about people not taking her fucking music seriously and all doing it
Mm.
through irony.
Yeah, honestly, I really liked what she said. It's something I do think about a lot. Like as someone who is very like meme poisoned and definitely has had like the circuitry of her brain corrupted by spending too much time on the internet, I feel like I notice in myself and a lot of other people, right? There's kind of this like the mean way I would put it. And once again, like I exist under this umbrella as well, but like the mean way I would put it is like the pick me Olympics, where like everything where like
No,
everything anyone says and does online is like, once again, including myself, is for like a reaction or like for a meme.
absolutely.
Or it's like, how screenshotable is this? Like how many layers it's you remember the like how many layers of irony on or are you on meme like with the fucking floating head and shit.
Oh, for sure.
It kind of feels like that sometimes. And um I don't know, I just feel like in a time in which, especially for like people in our community, like shit is getting so real, and we increasingly are, I think, realizing that we only can really depend on each other. um it's important just to meet emotion at face value. um I don't know if it's a generational like somewhere between millennial and Gen Z thing either, where it's like maybe that's a shield we put up um due to being perceived right. It's like this kind of weird Truman Show aspect of growing up with like, to an extent, like everyone kind of has cameras on them. Everyone has to be constantly thinking about how they're perceived. And I think already on a base human level, it's scary to be vulnerable, and it's scary to just like put how you're feeling out there. The truth is scary. So while maybe older generations kind of masked it in like tradition and like drinking a lot and the nuclear family and shit like that, I think we kind of mask it more with irony. And I think the challenge of each generation, a challenge of it is undoing that conditioned suit of armor and just like being vulnerable and truthful with each other.
I think that Nathan Zed, formerly the Third Pew, he made a really interesting video involving music that's kind of in that same vein of like how the thesis of the video is how 2024 was the year that trying became cool again. Where you had
Mm-hmm.
people like Chapel, obviously, but like also Kendrick like making it hip hop matter again, and Tyler giving it like Tyler has never not given 100% to anything that
Mm-hmm.
he has done, and like all of that stuff ended up being the stuff that like not only was the biggest from last year but is probably going to end up lasting the longest in the long
Oh
run.
yeah, I mean, Chromacopia was fucking excellent. And kind of per what you're saying, like I've felt so as a fan of music, like music is everything to me. It is the fucking air that I breathe. um I'm learning how to not make it the most important thing in my life when other things need to be more important, but like by default it is like the most important thing in my life. And all this is to say that like, as a fan of music, watching so many artists uncompromisingly and without shame or embarrassment chase excellence and have that be like really accepted and enjoyed by the people around me is like fucking so cool. Like, per what you were saying, like the Tyler album, like you listen to Chromacopia and like there's so many details and things with the flow of it. And it just feels like, consistently Tyler has just been honing in on the elements that set him apart. Um, and it's cool to hear him take that approach to other vibes too. Like, I was telling someone that Judge Judy to me sounds like the Kinks. Like it sounds like a song on what's the
Oh.
album that Lola's on?
No,
It's
I don't.
it's
I
like
don't know the.
Lola and the something. It's the album that the Wes Anderson movie Darjeeling Limited. That album is like the soundtrack to that whole movie. Um, but it was really interesting to. I mean, old Tyler would be able to tell you what if
Lola
that was
versus
or
Power
wasn't.
Man and the Money Go Round Part One.
Yes, 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 yes. Great album, also by the way. But yeah, it was so cool. Like, what you don't usually when you hear guitar on a Tyler song, it's going to be some very like washy, like pretty jazz chords on like an electric. Like hearing that like super campfire, like acoustic and like there's another
It's like
no,
Flaming Lipsy a little bit almost.
it is a little Flaming Lipsy. I mean, actually, even the title of that Kinks album kind of sounds like a Flaming Lips album title a little
Yes,
bit.
literally. I saw them do all of Yoshimi at Riot Fest a couple of years ago. It was
Oh,
fucking sick as hell.
so fire. Wait, how long have you been living in Chicago for?
Since 2017.
Okay, wow. So you were in Chicago for Brockhampton summer.
So I got there right after Brockhampton Summer. So the first band that I ever saw in Chicago was in July of 2017 which was Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh, nice.
But then I get to Chicago. the very first show that I saw, the very first show that I saw while living in Chicago was Brockhampton at Bottom Lounge.
Oh, nice.
Before Sat 3 dropped.
So that was Jennifer's tour.
Yes.
Yeah,
I saw Jennifer's tour, Love Your Parents. I skipping one, I saw the I'll Be There tour, and then I was at the Boston Calling show.
oh my God. Oh, that's
I
crazy.
was there, dude. It was the craziest shit ever.
Also, Boston Calling is such a like funny festival. I went my freshman year of college on day two, and I saw the 1975. I saw no, Childish Gambino played a different night. The two that stood out were the 1975, and then Nos headlined, backed by the Roots, and they basically did like Nos did a set of just kind of like album cuts.
Was this 2015 or 2017?
14.
14. No, that you're so right.
But Nos did like just a kind of like a solo opening set, like a standard like he's rapping to tracks like kind of thing. Then did all of Illmatic backed by the Roots, and then the Roots just like jammed for an hour, which was so fucking cool. Like I think about that performance a lot. They had like on songs that would have had like an 808, they had like the sousaphone doing the bass notes. They did a sped up punk version of Sweet Child of Mine. That
That's
went
fucking sick.
Yeah, it was a crazy fucking show.
Shout out the National for putting Boston Calling is an underrated festival. I
It
feel like
honestly is. I like the size of the festival grounds too, and the experience. I feel like part of any festival or concert experience is like also the commute there and back.
absolutely
Like, the anticipation of the show, and then the like come down from the show as you're going back home, and like taking the T to and from that was like very fun, surrounded by a bunch of people kind of processing the same vibe.
Shout out the Boston Red Line for real.
Oh my gosh, shout out that low-key the reason why I didn't have school like for most of the second semester, because that was when Juno hit, like the big fucking winter storm.
Yeah. Oh my
and,
god.
and I guess the school has a policy that if the red line and or the green line are closed, because those come from like Cambridge and Alston, you can't have class because that prevents kids from getting there. And so like I feel like 50% of the classes that everyone was supposed to have that semester just did not happen. I was gonna fail anyway, but it made me feel a lot better about it.
See, I remember like I grew up in Marblehead in Massachusetts, which like I don't know if you ever made it up there. Don't.
Don't.
No, it's 6 yacht clubs in 4 square miles.
Ah, gotcha.
And I turned out like this.
It's like good old boys territory, like Sperry's.
It's in a way it's worse. Like it's like it's a mixture of the most neolib shit you've ever seen, and it's like it's yacht club fucking people. So it's like neolibs mixed with like hoity-toity conservatives,
Gotcha.
which are at least if it was good old boy shit, it would be like on the surface.
Yeah, it's more like sinister and like
there's an insidiousness to like certain parts of Massachusetts.
Where I grew up in San Diego is a lot like what you're describing.
I've been to San Diego once, but that does not surprise me in the
No,
slightest.
not at all. You can kind of see it, but it is that similar. Like there is like a very insidious, kind of slightly hateful, like conservative undertone to like the neolib and hoity-toityness of it. And like the most left, you see most people like my parents' age out there lead is, you know, being like the like they go low, we go high kind of thing. Very, very, very interesting. San Diego.
There's something about like small, like every small town is annoying, but there's something about small towns with an identity all to their own that are particularly evil, in my opinion.
Like elaborate on that a little bit.
So my hometown is like one of 3 towns in the United States that calls itself the birthplace of the American Navy.
Gotcha.
My hometown was founded before America was. So it is quintessentially America. Like my parents live in a house that was built before America existed.
Yeah.
It is quintessentially American small coastal fishing town. And if you don't fit in to either being like yacht club or Bostonian trash,
gotcha,
like boat trash in that kind of way, you're a little bit fucked.
No, I totally feel you. Per what you just said about like the Boston trash type of like First, you're giving me war flashbacks to working on Lansdowne Street during a Red Sox season. That shit was ass. That was
Bro,
like actually
no.
trauma. Okay, like I mean, so
Please go the fuck up. Please go on about Boston.
oh my god. Okay, so for those that have never like been there during Red Sox season, it's fucking such sheer chaos. I'm also gonna smoke weed, but it's like the drunkest of the drunkest like emerge in a way that you don't see for the rest of the year. The worst is when the Blue Jays play the Red Sox, because like Blue Jays fans are just Red Sox fans from Toronto, and it's like fights, it's riots, it's screaming, it's like trash and vomit and human shit like all over the street. Like it gets really crazy.
The only playoff game that I've ever been to in any sport was Sox versus Blue Jays in 2016.
Oh my, are you okay?
No, no, I'm not. But I have not. I have yet to recover.
It's insane. Like everyone is just looking for any excuse to get in a fight. Like you could even like be from the same place and like the same team. It's kind of like a free for all Halo deathmatch type of situation.
Literally.
God. God, I'm trying to think of like any. I mean, there was this one time I had to use the bathroom at my job. I used to work as like a bar back and a busser at a there. I don't know if it's still around, but there at least was this country bar called Loretta's on Lansdowne Street, and I used to work there. And I had to piss really bad, and someone tried to like fight me, for like over like a spot in line or so. I was waiting in line like normal, but someone just like wanted to fight this scrawny little 19-year-old. I guess we did not fight, thankfully, because I would have lost. But yeah, real shit. Shout out Boston. Shout out Lansdowne Street. Interesting vibes.
You can skip the House of Blues in Boston. It's not. It. There's nothing great there.
Actually, I have a tangential House of Blues Boston story, not from
Please
being
go
in there. One time, Future parked his tour bus in front of my work because my job was right next to the House of Blues.
That's fucking
And,
sick.
I don't know if he still has his tour bus, but this was 2015, probably like maybe 2016. Future's tour bus just had like a giant portrait of him on the side that had Hendrix written on it in like cursive, and it was like the coolest thing I've ever seen.
That's hard as hell. That's hard as fuck. Holy shit. I want to talk about your experience with Brockhampton summer, that beautiful summer of 2017. What was that like for you?
It was a lot of fun. I've reflected on this time a lot recently. Because at the time I was like in an indie band, and we were like kind of getting started in our local scene, and I had just recently, like 6 months ago maybe, about a year ago at that point, dropped out of college and moved back home to San Diego, and just felt like a fucking complete piece of garbage, like failure. And was kind of slowly building my musical confidence back up by being in this band. And at the time, I felt like so hungry and impatient, because I was like, I already fucked up once. Like, I have to be super successful or whatever. I was like 20, 21. So my priorities were a lot different then. But looking back, it was so fun to be in like, a fresh kind of struggling band on the come up, like while all that culture was happening around us. You had like this new wave of punk emerging like via SoundCloud rap from Florida. So like you had all the fucking like the X Ski Mask, that whole movement,
basically
whatever.
The entire 2017 freshman class.
Yeah, the Cardi, like all I remember when Cardi, Kendrick, and Brockhampton all dropped on the same day.
Yes.
Saturation. It was Saturation 2, self-titled, and Damn, I believe. That day was crazy, but it was like all that. There was like kind of a renaissance.
Self-titled, or was it Die Lit in 2017?
Die Lit was 2018 or maybe 2019.
You're so right.
But yeah, it was all that happening. I felt like I have this whole other fucking spiel thesis about how like Frank Ocean's Blonde made the guitar cool again in like all music, but there was like this kind of indie renaissance happening around like guitar playing and the use of guitar in way different genres at that time that was really fun, like being someone in a guitar band, because like we were taking influence from all this non indie or like classic rock or whatever kind of music we'd grown up on that was centered around the guitar. Like fucking SZA dropped Control that year. Like There was just so much.
2017 and 2016 are quite possibly the two best years for music of this millennium so far.
It wasn't because 2016 we had like Anti dropped and
Anti, Lemonade,
Mhm.
Blonde, fucking the Solange record,
Oh my
the
god,
final Tribe Called Quest record, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey! Oh my god, Jeffrey and Slime season 3 dropped that year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Oh my god, we had like a really fucking. My friends and I had this like fucking. I was gonna like say we had like a tequila party, but that's not even a thing. We just drank tequila when it came out. But yeah, oh my god, Slam season 3, Jeffrey. Uh, not to like shout him out because like fuck everything this person believes in, but like Life of Pablo dropped that year too. At the time, that was something that I think was a big momentous
Absolutely.
occasion
I
for
do think
everyone.
that to this day, still, that like that particular Metro Boomin tag in
Oh,
Publishers My Hands Part
so
1, that's
good.
the entire 2010s in one soundbite in 2 seconds.
I want to know how many people thought that that designer was Future, like people who hadn't heard Panda before they heard part two.
Right.
Because I mean, I definitely did. I heard that, well, because it was like the Future does that Metro tag, and then part two happened, and like everyone thought designer sounded like Future when that was a thing. But I remember being like, damn, like he fucking got like Future on his album. There was all the weird shit with Drake too, so it was like, oh, like what's gonna happen? It was funny. It was funny when that
The
album
more
came out.
things change, it's important to have stabilities like Drake putting his fucking nose where it doesn't belong.
Exactly, the one constant. I can't believe they got him at the Oscars too.
I know. And then, did you see what Ack did?
No.
Ack fucking compared Conan making a joke about Drake being about not even making a joke about Drake being a pedo.
Oh wait,
Uh,
was it the Emmett Till
it was
thing?
the fucking Emmett Till thing.
Jesus. Yeah, I did see that.
Ack.
Fucking insane. Um, yeah, I was gonna say shout out Drake for some reason. I don't know why.
Absolutely.
I think I just say that after,
You know
like,
what? Don't shout out Drake. Shout out Wheelchair Jimmy.
shout out Wheelchair Jimmy. Shout out Degrassi. Did I say? I don't. I feel like I said that weird. Degrassi.
It doesn't matter. It couldn't.
It doesn't matter.
The
Nothing
Canadians
matters.
don't like us right now anyway.
I was out. I was thinking about how the only provable like constant in existence is like consciousness as opposed to material reality. Before we jumped in here, and I feel like that somehow relates to saying nothing. But I don't know.
We're totally. It's
We're vibing.
before we get into the bit, I do want to talk about the new album because I love it so much. We're
Oh
out.
fuck
You and
yeah.
I were out. It's a very heavily marijuana themed record.
Oh yeah.
You and I, we're smoking a fuck ton. There is a part of me that's like there is a part of it's a whole. I love the idea of a whole album about weed, and I want to know why. But there was a part of me that was like, is this a fucking swimming pools thing?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Like, kind of, but not in a serious sense. So the whole idea comes from this. I got to credit my siblings, my brother Alex and my sister Grace, with this because they were the first people I kind of heard talk about this idea. But just the sense of writing a stoner tragedy as opposed to a stoner comedy. Because like you have this very popular genre of like stoner comedies from the 90s and early 2000s that are always very light. Like weed is kind of for this like comedic effect. Like it's not really presented as like serious in any which way. It's more so like an incidental aesthetic choice to facilitate comedy. And I think flipping that and making a stoner tragedy, I thought that idea was just fucking hilarious. And the more you engage with that idea seriously, without irony and dramatically, in a weird way, to me, the more hilarious it becomes. Um, like I think I was sort of it would like the impetus for this record came about like as a mixture of thinking about the idea of a stoner tragedy and then trying to come up with an excuse as to like how I could justify just wearing pajamas on stage because I hate getting ready for shows and I always want to wear like sweatpants and shit. And I came up with this character that inhabited this stoner tragedy and I was thinking about like what she looks like what she wears, like what she smells like what does her room look like.
it's giving
Like
like femme version of the boy from Because the Internet.
I guess so, maybe a little. I've only listened to that album once, which I feel like is super, super embarrassing, but I didn't like really take in the character
You're
driven
fine.
narrative.
You're fine. There's a video that I'll send you that puts it better into perspective.
Word.
That whole I'm not even gonna get into it. That whole album would take a billion dog years to really dissect.
There's chapters and shit. I do need to
Yeah.
go back though, because I did love it the one time I listened to it. But with yeah, with the weed shit, uh once I had the marriage of those two ideas, it was kind of a matter of like waiting for the music to come. Cause like like do you ever feel like it's impossible to make music on purpose? Like you kind of just have to like strike when it hits
All the
you.
time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like if I sit down and I'm like, I'm going to write a song, I can do that if I did a song like yesterday, but I can't do it out of the blue. Like kind of like I was telling you at the beginning, like a bunch of big changes happened in my personal life around the time moving here. Once again, like not necessarily bad things, just like very different and like kind of heavy things to me. Um, so when it was time, we were getting ready to roll out I Love Myself and Want to Live, and like all that music was done. I had finally like closed the door on these two albums I'd made and like this other chapter in the music I'd been working on. And I felt, I got to come up with the next shit now. And I feel like I'm feeling all these big feelings that I need to process and need to like lay out and make sense of. And I was trying to write from those feelings and it was just coming out ass. Like it was not good. Um, it wasn't even bad either, which I think was the biggest shame. Cause like I'm fine with doing something that is like bad if it's interesting, but this was all just like
Mediocre.
yeah, it was fine. And I don't know. I never want to just like put out some shit that's fine. I would rather either someone really connects with it and loves it or like hates the shit out of it. And that's not going to be the case unless I feel one of those two ways.
Absolutely.
So I kind of, I remember like having a conversation with some friends of mine being like, oh, like I feel like I haven't, I've made 3 records now, but I haven't really found a sound that's mine. I don't know what I want to say. It was kind of this whole crisis of confidence. Like, you know how it goes. It's like when you're making music and you're in the rhythm of it, it feels great and you feel very confident in it. But then when you're out of practice, it just feels so like fucking shitty and like rolling the fucking Sisyphus boulder up the hill. Um, and then a friend of mine let me borrow this baritone guitar that he wasn't using. And I started kind of messing around making music on that. The whole record, with like 2 exceptions, every guitar part you hear is played on a baritone. Um, and that just kind of unlocked these new harmonic and melodic ideas. And I made it was track 4 called Pothead on it. And I made that first. And once I knew what it was about, and I realized I was writing about this stoner character I'd come up with, it was like the whole thing flowed. I made that whole record in a week, like new song every day. The last song on the record was made the day I had to give the baritone guitar back. Like I made that song real quick. I had like an hour or 2 to make it, and it's the one that it opens with that very obvious like Ed Sheeran interpolation. So I had to speed run the like, do I care enough about like the slim potential of getting sued to like not make a thing today? Right. And I was like, no, I have 2 hours. This is the idea. I'm gonna fucking do it. I'll deal with it later. So I made that fucking song, got on the fucking train, gave my friend his guitar back, and came back. But yeah, I forget what the original question was. Sorry, I kind of just started
You are
yapping.
all good. Like that you answered the question perfectly. I am honestly just so stoked to hear that you are able to like be back into making like not even the same level, but like upping your level of creativity on that. Because I was listening to the record. I've been listening to the record the last couple of days. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
I'm so stoked for this to come out. I am so excited to have like a lovely summer type vibe with that stoner album. Speaking of summery vibes, we've been talking about the summer of Brockhampton. We come back.
Yes.
Estelle Allen and we're doing a Brockhampton 64 song bracket. We will be right back with more of the Cuddlepunk podcast. Welcome back to the Cuddlepunk podcast. I am here with Estelle Allen. Woo! One of the reasons when Estelle first put out the tweet about Spice Girls and was saying that she wanted to form a all trans femme Brockhampton, the very first thing that I sent her was this tattoo that I got last year, despite having been there since Brockhampton summer in 2017, we are both big fans, and we think that Brockhampton has started to finally get the good reappraisal that it has always deserved. So, what Estelle and I are going to do, it is time for the Brockhampton bracket.
Holy shit. Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
we've got 64 songs. So I realized that you probably did not end up listening to the playlist that I sent you
I don't
because
have
it was on
Discord.
Discord. Yeah,
I did. I went back and was like kind of speed running
for
like
sure.
the family and shit just in case, but I don't think I see anything from
There's
that.
one family song. There's nothing off of TM. We're totally fine.
Is it Big Pussy or is it like
It's Any Way You Want Me.
okay, word. I actually did not listen to that one, so
It's
that's gonna
fine.
be
It's
my
up
one
against
blind
something
spot.
that's not going to win anyway. So we've got 64 tracks here. I took the top 64 tracks from Last FM, put them all together based on things. Y'all know how the brackets work. We've done these before. Estelle, are you ready?
I was born ready.
Let's go.
And or
So
what?
first off, we have Sugar
Sugar.
versus Heaven Belongs to You.
Okay, I love Heaven Belongs to You because of the way that like slow tie verse creeps in. I think for me though, Heaven Belongs to You is sick because of how it goes into St. Percy, where Sugar on its own is just a hit. Like
Sugar,
the first time any of us heard that, it was like, yo, like what the fuck? Like this is that like Sugar had me writing songs a certain way for a long time. So I got to give it to that
shout
personally.
out Grammy Award winner Ryan Beatty. Shout out
Oh my
Ryan.
god, so fucking good.
I don't have anything else to say. You're just right. Um,
Hey.
Bleach versus If You Pray Right.
I gotta go with Bleach. I'm sorry.
You
Like
know what the right answer is. It's
I know
Bleach,
that's the
babe.
popular answer, but like it's Bleach. Like that's all that needs to be
Bleach might
said.
be we're gonna obviously see more, but Bleach is possibly the best song on the it's very possibly the best song on Saturation.
The first time hearing that in Billy Starr was fucking crazy.
So that
Um,
was what's crazy about Bleach for me is that was the song at the Boston Calling set where everything started breaking down.
oh yeah, huh?
Like Jubba goes up for the everything and then just drops the microphone. I think
Ooh,
I've talked about this before, but like it's literally he's sobbing, Kevin's crying, Matt's crying, Bareface is crying, Dom's holding up Joba because he's about to fucking collapse. Merlin's just going like this.
King.
He's just trying to keep the vibe going as much as possible, which we love him for. All right, Boogie versus Stains.
Okay, this is a tough one because actually, like, I feel like like Boogie is my one like kind of hipster like take in that it's not one of my favorites of theirs, but it's to me it's a lot more interesting than Stains. I was watching um like bits from the specifically the Sat 3 documentary they dropped with the album. I think if you bought it on CD, I was watching that last night, and there's a brief conversation that happens between a couple of them, like while they're making Bleach and it's playing in the other room, like everyone knows it's a hit. And they kind of have this conversation of like, oh, Bleach would be the one that a label would tell us to lead with. So we should do the one that like would be opposite that, which was Stains. Um, it might have been Boogie actually. I forget which one.
Yeah, Boogie was
It
the
was
first single from this one for sure.
so it was Boogie, but yeah, I
Stains,
remember.
I feel like just Stains is interesting for me because it's the first time Amir switches up his flow whatsoever.
True, Stains is kind of like the chick of Sat 3. I feel
Yeah, I
like
think
it,
that's fair.
like it's a good song, but like Boogie to me is just so much more interesting, even though it's not always my favorite. There's just a lot of really like kind of bold, weird choices being made in that song.
Absolutely,
It's got to edge it out for me.
absolutely. Face versus Johnny. This is probably
That's
my hot take.
so. You like Johnny better, huh?
I like Johnny better. Face is one that never really worked, and Jubba is my favorite member, but Face never worked for me.
Loki, me too. I gotta go with Johnny also because like when it comes once again, like something I think I've taken a lot from Brockhampton when I make music, specifically albums. They're so good at the transitions between songs. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's so much thought put into the track listing,
Face
and
doesn't belong at the end of Sat 1.
it kind of like Face feels like the epilogue, and then you get the Bareface song that's the actual epilogue, and it's kind of weird. Whereas like Johnny comes straight in off a zipper. You hear it's kind of a similar like wiggly vibe. Like I feel like on 3 they just lead so hard into the wiggly sounds.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then just that shit comes in with the when I imagine myself on acid. It's so good. I gotta go with Johnny. That
I
song's
would agree. Also, Johnny is was like the first sign to me that like, oh no, Joba is going to be way more present
Mhm.
on Sat 3 than he was on 1 or 2.
He
And
was great on Sat 3.
specifically that part about like we had a show on Viceland, I was barely in it. Like
Yeah.
that was pointed.
Most of the time I'm hidden. Oh, this
Summer
next
versus Chain On featuring
that's
JPEG Mafia.
that's
Th-
so crazy.
this one's really hard for me because Peggy had my album of the year last year.
I love him on that song. I also just love that song in the Brockhampton canon. Like
To be
it
the first person to do the Duolingo Dua Lipa thing, like hats
well,
off. If I could take my hat off and not take off my headphones, I would say hats off to you, Mr. Peggy.
hey. I think also there's just a cool thing about that song in that maybe it's because it got made during like the technical difficulties era or whatever, but there is an attitude to that song that feels like a bunch of friends pulling up a YouTube beat and just rapping, which is
Absolutely.
really fun. That being said, I gotta put Summer. I think that
Summer.
song is fucking insane. It felt like the theme song to me and my friends for summer 2017, and like it's only one line of a chorus repeated over and over, but that with the music in the context of the album it appears on, I think is just so encapsulating of
What
a
I
very
love
specific feeling in time in a really powerful way. So I got to go with that.
I love on Summer, like there's like sort of like a either a sample or an interpolation, like that. That's from I can't remember which song it is, but it's one of the songs off of Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. It's
Oh,
the
word.
no,
Okay.
I'll never let you live this down,
I to-
down.
I totally thought that was just like some old Motown lick or something.
Nah, I think that's off the. I can't remember which song it is, but it's the one with Kid Cudi on it off of Dark Fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Damn. Okay. Learning something new every day.
And then
That's
Summer
cool.
comes up again. That lick comes up again later on, but we'll get to that one. Boy Bye versus Swamp.
I gotta say Swamp between the two. Like
Yeah,
Swamp just has such a great hook. I love how like understated the music is, but the energy brought by the vocals is really, really interesting. Boy Bye is great. I love the fucking
what
uh
the hell?
well just the little melody in the of the book is
Fucking
just so
carnival
cool.
shit. It's perfect. Ginger's
Mhm.
underrated.
Ginger is underrated. No Halo is super underrated. I'm curious to see what that's up against. Oh,
Uh,
I see what it's up against.
yeah.
Okay.
First
Okay,
off,
noted.
we're just gonna move on. Gold. Gold
Yeah,
versus
a song
uh
I have not heard. That might be better.
it's the
I
first
don't
song
know.
off of Family. It's the song off of the fucking Family. The Family is a to say it's a disappointment is an understatement. It's a punch in the gut. Honestly, it's a slap in the face.
I was gonna say my hot take is like I've only listened to it like once all the way through, but I think just what it is such high art. Like it actually like for being such a like fucked up and strange ending to Brockhampton, the idea of like Kevin Abstract doing a solo album where he just airs the whole shit out and like imitates the other members is I just as I
It's
love
both a dick. No, I can see that for sure. It still is just like it feels like it's a dick move in my
it.
opinion. Like not letting
That's
the other
fair.
guys get their vibes out, which maybe they didn't want to,
Yeah.
but it never went right to me. This is the worst one of all of them. Sweet versus Junkie.
Oh, I I gotta say Junkie because I love the structure of that song in a way that I haven't heard replicated. Like the only one I can think of that kind of uses a similar structure is Sunburned Shirts by Car Seat Headrest is kind of similar, if you know that song.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
little different. It's one chorus repeated kind of over and over till it builds up to a big thing, but Junkie does a similar thing just with verses. Like there's no chorus. It just kind of builds up to this real and like to this really interesting drop. Like this the style of that beat, like a lot of their beats, honestly, you can't really pin a certain style or step on it. You can't be like, this is a trap beat, this is a drill beat, this is like an old school boom bap beat. Like they're just only as like a Brockhampton beat that can kind of sound like anything. And that was the first song I heard by them too. And it was just, it's like, once again, with all the wiggles and shit. And it's just crazy. I would put that over a lot of songs, honestly.
For sure. Having Junkie, I think, is one of their most important songs as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kevin like really being on his fucking gay shit on that song.
Mm-hmm.
Merlin really getting into his family stuff. Matt, especially his verse on Junkie,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the summer of 2017,
Oh yeah.
was something that we didn't really get from a lot. And I think that it was really that's a fair. I think that's an important one. I do think we have to go with Junkie, but I love Sweet so fucking much.
Sweet is like the cipher. That was fun live on Jennifer's tour when they like choreographed it like a
Oh,
cipher.
that was the
Super fun.
best.
Um,
No Halo versus Ginger.
no Halo.
No Halo.
Literally just off the strength of the bareface part, the what you know that all of me to feel the fire. Maybe I'll be gone for a
You
minute.
know,
You
you know
know
that's
it's a
a lie.
lie. Hey, we got that harmony.
Let's go.
Oh, this is a tough one. This is a really tough
1999
one.
Wildfire versus Count on Me.
I think Count on Me is so slept on, but
That hook is Count on Me might be the song that has grown on me the most
mhm.
while going through all of these.
I feel like it's a lot of Brockhampton fans that just canonize that song as Bankroll instead of like what turned into
Oh, for
Bankroll.
sure.
Um, fuck though, that's hard though because
1999 Wildfire was the first song where we were like, okay, they are continuing.
yeah, like they're gonna be fine. And then it's got a my hands up, I let go. Oh, it's got a great bareface part too. Fuck. Okay.
Ain't no pressure.
I gotta give it to 1999 Wildfire.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it hurts, but no, I agree completely. Gummy versus New Orleans.
oh god, that's fucking. Oh, that's tough. That's so tough. Um, because also New Orleans into Thug Life and the
Oh
Jaded
yeah.
part,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and that was the
There's an
first.
entire other like I was telling you about this. I'm on this week's episode of Album Brews, which just came out yesterday. As like when
Hey,
this gets released, where we're talking about Iridescence as a full album. The transitions on Iridescence are unfucking paralleled.
insane. Also, New Orleans was the first time I ever heard like a reverse kick into the normal kick. So it sounded like the shape of the kick was like soft and then hit really hard.
Oh yeah.
It just makes a texture in my brain that I've been obsessed with since. And that's like after the perfectly fine, that's fine. The first thing you hear of that whole album is like the kick getting sucked out of a black hole. Um, but Gummy is like that's like one of the ones, you know? That's hard. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be a contrarian and give it to New Orleans actually, because like those songs are equal to me.
Another thing is this is the first one where we've got two openers on
Yeah,
against each other. I do think I have to give it to New Orleans though.
and both are equally, I think, as effective as openers. Just today, I would give it to New Orleans.
Yeah.
On a different day, I would probably give it to Gummy, but today it's New Orleans because of that kick.
Rental versus Hottie.
That's another really tough
Yeah.
one. Um,
Hottie is, I think, my favorite like actual boy band track of theirs.
yeah.
Like, it's such a good pop song.
Put the bag
In the truck, add it up, I remember them. That was so much fun on Love Your Parents.
Mm-hmm. I do got to give it to Rental though, because those Matt Champion parts.
Yeah.
Also,
I will show you love.
the video for that song is so good too. I
Oh,
watched
the
it
one shot.
recently.
Oh my god.
Yeah, with Dom like getting the fade and then just like fucking doing the verse into the mirror is really cool.
Shout out HK.
Seriously, also like the color grading on those Sat 3
Mhm.
videos is really cool.
Zipper versus Heat.
Ooh.
I know where I'm going.
I feel like I know where you would go like as a Joba fan specifically,
Yeah.
but like okay.
Listen, Zipper is crazy too.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go with Zipper because that's like I think of that as like the Joba song.
Nah,
But
see, here's the thing. On Jennifer's tour, seeing
yeah,
them and
the
having
choreography.
Heat was the first one that I heard, and hearing that fuck yeah,
Yeah,
that was what got me into Brockhampton initially. That was the moment.
it was so cool. They did the video on stage too. Like the
Yeah,
choreography was the same.
and they had the couch out with them too.
I'm gonna give it to Heat. That's
I'm
just
gonna give
like
it to Heat.
That's just fucking. The Zipper is amazing though. I think that's
Pretty sure I'm maniacal, but what do I know?
like what I think of like what is like this if you could be like what's the saturation sound as like a listener, I would say it's songs like Zipper and Jotty and Stupid and like um probably Gummy, like stuff like that, like the wiggly ones.
Yeah.
So I do love Zipper, but I mean Heat is Heat.
Star versus Queer.
You can't do that to me. You keep doing this. You keep doing that to me. That's
They have
crazy.
a lot of very good songs, Estelle.
They have a lot of
put them on my skin
no,
forever.
fair. Queer is one of my favorite Brockhampton songs, like in the whole discography. Then again, seeing on Jennifer's tour them perform Star as an encore until the venue kicked them out was really amazing. And also just that song is really incredible. I was thinking about this when I was taking a shower before we were going to do this. I was thinking about how as their career progresses, you see less songs that only have like 2 or 3 or maybe 4 of them on it, where you get to like kind of zoom in not just on the group's chemistry, but the chemistry between like specific pairs or like mini groups in Brockhampton. And I feel like Star is like the shining example of that. Like Where the Cash At is another one. But
Star is also just like it is. I think it's the ultimate bar fest for all of them. Like that first verse from Dom, like just all of the references that you're able to fit into that. That's insane, dude.
Also the video goes crazy. I love the unreleased one they use as like the end of the video. If I were going off of like the song and the video as a package, I would probably put Star first, but I got to give it to Queer because to me that's like what, in my opinion, one of their best songs. I love the beat. I love the style they do. Like the hook is so incredible for being built off of loops. Like that song goes in so many interesting places. Yeah, fuck, I love that song. I got to give it to that.
I think so. Waste versus Tokyo.
That's also tough because I'm so partial to the Bareface songs, but Tokyo I think also is one of the best Brockhampton songs. Literally just opening with a fucking bass, like one note on the bass and Joba singing to the falsetto. Like,
things are rather too different.
Boom,
look a bit of cold sweat. My
boom,
emotions creeping.
boom, boom. Oh, it's so good. I love that.
Good. This one.
Ooh, yeah. No, I agree. I like the final bankroll, but Buzzcut. I mean, also, like Danny Brown verse or no Danny Brown verse. I mean that verse is incredible. But
look at the sky.
But Buzzcut just goes so hard. The beat of that's crazy. I like the video a lot too.
There's so much Kanye influence throughout all of that stuff, but I think that Roadrunner is really where those influences start showing up the most, specifically on Buzzcut. Like it feels like there's a lot of that stuff that feels like very College Dropout.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would make sense that like as a collective group, they're sort of benchmark.
Yeah, they met
like,
on the Kanye West forum.
Yeah, like their benchmark for like what's the word I'm looking for like grandiosity and like that kind of scope would I think very clearly be Kanye. So I definitely hear a lot of that.
I wish he hadn't influenced so much of everything.
Is what it is, you know. Oh, St. Percy.
St. Percy versus the Light.
This is the Light part 1, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is like that's a really underrated song. Also, probably that might be the best Joba song or one of the best songs.
That Joba one, that Joba verse hurts so bad, but
I feel like I probably am more partial to St. Percy. I love the way they performed it live too. I saw them at Flognaw 2019. And they opened with that. And that was like coming on stage one by one. The drums didn't drop till the very end. So that's really I think objectively as like someone that just like loves songs and loves raw emotion, I do got to give it to the Light though. That's just an incredible fucking piece of music.
You think it's St. Percy?
St. Percy bangs harder, but the Light is a really crazy piece of music.
Yeah, for sure. Jello versus Sunny.
Ooh, I'm gonna say Sunny.
I'm gonna say Sunny too.
Super underrated. So sick. And on like just guitar, Merlin is great on that song.
He is. Down.
Yeah, I gotta give it to Sunny.
This one is I know where my heart is, but I forgot how good Bump is.
Bump is incredible.
Jover versus Bump, like the when this I my
I've
problem is
had
that
a reason to live.
I forget which names are attached to which songs.
Yes, especially for me on Sat One. I got in like a not like a real argument, but me and my manager were debating this like a week ago or something about like I said there was like I felt like there was a lot more filler on Sat One than the other ones. Like there is a run of songs that for me I kind of forget which is which.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
Bump is really good. They played that at the San Diego show on Jennifer's tour, which was really sick. I like that they sample it later in Honey is really cool. Um, Jover is also a really good Joba moment, and it's so
the
like
that it, when I laid to this day when I lay down a verse and I am going as hard as I possibly can, I say I am going Joba Jover on that bitch.
no, Joba Jover is like a fucking heightened like aggression.
Yeah,
I think this is tough. Songwriting, I gotta give it to Bump just because I think it's a more interesting piece of music.
I think that's fair.
Jover's fucking sick. It does feel in terms of like what it's doing it as a song, like to me, it feels like less good junky. Not to say it's not good because it's fucking
I can see that. No,
really
I can
good.
see that for sure.
But yeah, Bump kind of edges it out to me. I'm just like Nirvana's my favorite band. I love like loud, quiet, loud dynamics. Yeah. I'm a sucker for that. Loud verse, quiet chorus. So underrated, by the way.
Underrated. Fake versus Swim.
Those are two of the ones I get confused with each other. Whichever one is still the only one anywhere is what I pick. Because I think it's one of those.
There we go. I was gonna go with Fake. It's neither one of neither one of them is the la di da di da di da one, actually.
No, not la di da di da because that's la di da di da di da. Do I trust him? Probably not. That's
right.
On Sat 2.
Yeah.
There's Fake or Swim. There's one where there's like it starts with it. It's like still the only one I read away. It's got to be Fake. It's Fake.
That's fair. I would have gone with Swim, but that's totally fair. This Stupid versus San Marcos.
Oh, that's fun. That actually might be the most fucked one in there.
Fucked.
Those are two of my favorite songs. San Marcos, like the live version, the Leica version, is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God.
Me personally, I have to go with San Marcos on this one.
Understandable. For me, Stupid might edge it out like just a little bit because that song is like I love the video of them making it. They did an IG live that you can still find on YouTube, and you see them like making it, and the energy going into it is so infectious. I love that the like what drug reference thing is like kind of planned.
Oh yeah.
I might agree with you though with this. I might give it to San Marcos as a song. Stupid as boys want to play with myself.
Yeah, no, you're so right. No, you're right. But yeah, it is it's San Marcos.
San Marcos just I think I think as a song, it edges out. Even though Stupid's a banger, that's like one of my favorites.
I've Been Born Again versus Infatuation off All American Trash.
Oh shit. Dude, I haven't listened to All American Trash since like before I got into Brockhampton. I knew this really weird guy that I was friends with in Boston that showed me that mixtape one time. I was just like, yo, like this Brockhampton band is crazy. He talked like that. But I think the only one that's been in rotation for me since is Home, the Bareface song off that.
Yeah.
So I got to give it to I've Been Born Again just because that's the one I know more and I don't want to like. Ooh, Alaska versus Fight is a good one. I'm giving that to Alaska. Alaska, I think, is actually a super. I've said this about like most of them. Alaska is really underrated.
Alaska's great.
Like obviously, I don't fuck with Mark Zuckerberg, but I do love that lyric. Just the way he says, "A young Zuckerberg, I get up and make stuff." Is like really good. There's funny lyrics on that song. I like the drums too, like kind of sitting behind the beat. I'm like a big D'Angelo fan and shit. So like whatever the
D'Angelo is going to be playing with the Roots as background at the Roots picnic this year.
I think we talked about this on Twitter for like a second, but yes, I want to go so fucking bad.
So bad.
D'Angelo is like top 3 favorite artists of all time for me. He's fucking incredible. I would kill. And especially after seeing the Roots and Nos, like the way they function as a backing band when they dig into someone's discography. I mean, I say dig into as if like Questlove didn't fucking like co-produce Voodoo, but
Right.
and with that added element, that's going to be like a once in a lifetime show. And now I live like, not like hop, skip, and a jump, but I live not that far from
Not
Philly.
that far from Philly at all. No. Um, Teeth versus Berlin.
Berlin's underrated because I feel like Bareface doing Tough weirdly kind of really works on that
Oh
song.
yeah, like it's giving. Is it fucked up if I say that it's giving IRA?
Like Irish Republican Army.
Yes.
No, I mean like it would make sense.
Yeah, like that's just what I think of when I think of like gruff fucking Irish dude with like menace in his eyes.
Anyone fighting to Brockhampton would be like crazy though, like fighting with guns to Brockhampton.
Oh, absolutely.
Kind of goated though. Fuck. Teeth is really good in terms of like the Amir solo songs. Oh fuck, I might actually give it to Teeth, even though I love Berlin. Berlin's so like crushing, and
I
like
think
Berlin's
Teeth is the best like Teeth kind of scares the Teeth and one other song on here genuinely scared the shit out of me like a couple of times the first couple of times that I heard it.
I think in the context of the album it's in, because with just shit like Brockhampton's where it's so around the album format, I think it's important to like consider where it sits, and like Teeth feels like it plays a stronger narrative role in
Absolutely.
that album maybe than Berlin does. But Berlin is really interesting as a piece of music because it's kind of it's like the opposite of what I was saying about Swamp, but it's a similar meaning of like, I can't really tell if this is like really chill or really heavy. Like
Absolutely.
the beat is just like pounding, but the energy vocally on the song is a lot more like focused and like sociopathic and cold than it is like upbeat.
That
So
baby boy, why you looking brassy as shit?
it's a but swatch. I gotta give it to Teeth though, just
Yeah,
as a based album enjoyer or etc.
for sure. Dearly Departed versus Chick.
Oh, you
Dearly
obviously
Departed.
Departed. Yeah, not even a question.
No, Dearly Departed. This is the one that I was talking about with Summer. Like after Dom's verse when Bareface's guitar, or it might be after Joba's chorus when whenever Bareface's guitar solo comes in, it does like a slowed version of the
Yes, I remember that.
and I'm like, that's heartbreaking.
Because it's like the end of summer. Brockhampton
Yeah.
summer's over. Amir got canceled.
It was the year of the end of the longest summer in history.
Yeah, fucking. Oh, it's such a good song too. Like
Mhm.
that standout Dom one, obviously.
Yeah.
I think Chick is overhated, but like it's not a contest between those two.
No, absolutely not. Thug Life versus Tanya.
Fuck. I like Thug Life more, but that's because I think of New Orleans and Thug Life as a single piece
Yeah.
of music.
Also, I want to have Tanya and Thug and Dearly Departed go up against each other as the
That
two
would be
like about Amir songs.
yeah.
I need
Oh,
those two to go up against each other. Actually,
no, let's do it. Let's do it.
yeah,
I do love Thug Life, but Tanya is also a better
it
song.
is.
Um,
Like that
ooh,
again. Like Tanya is also very important to me as somebody who was again at the Boston Calling set.
yeah.
Like Bareface's verse about them like sitting on the sitting down on the harbor floor, like
Run outside. It's a bum bum bum.
I was there, man. Like I was like, oh, they're done. They've imploded before my very eyes.
They're
It's like I
cooked.
still feel that sadness like when I listen to that song.
I gotta go Sister Nation.
Yeah, Sister Nation versus Tupac. Tupac's fine.
Tupac
That's
is
a
like
great sound bit for. That's a great like cutout clip for this
yeah.
fucking show.
Oh my
The two
god.
white
Yeah,
female rappers saying Tupac's fine.
white bitches saying Tupac is overrated. You know who's better? Sister Nation. Who is that? I've not listened to her album. Gamba is like the most underrated Brockhampton song.
Thank
Bar
you.
none.
Gamba 100% is another one that like no, Gamba is another one that just grew on me so much while listening to all of these songs.
Weirdest one on that album too. I think it kind of works really well before Suddy too, because I think Suddy would be a lot weirder in the context of that album if Gamba didn't come first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just once again really good sequencing, but that song is fucking great.
It's also the most like simple use of the auto tune that they have maybe across the
Yeah,
Saturation trilogy, but it works so well.
it's super sick. They were leaning way harder into the auto tune in that like actually, no, I feel like, yeah, no, that's a dumb thing to say. They do that across like the whole shit.
Yeah,
I just feel like it was a lot more like,
they weren't as good at it on the first couple of records.
which makes for a fucking really interesting sound
For
though.
sure.
I always love as a producer and even just like making music with like friends really casually.
Yeah.
I love when someone who is like a good singer but like never uses autotune. I love the sound of recording them and then putting hard autotune on it.
Oh yeah.
Because it'll like weirdly be kind of chaotic and weird, like, but in a really, really interesting way. And there's certain members that you can tell at Brockhampton are like really good like singers technically, and the autotune interacts with their voices in a really interesting way.
Absolutely.
Boys or Milk is tough. Oh, I gotta give it to Milk. I gotta give it to Milk.
Milk.
Boys is really good, but
Hello, boss. Hello, boss. Boys always like, other than the not like, listen, Amir's verse on that one, like, I feel just like Zayn. I feel just like Harry. That that's awesome. But Milk is, I think we're both realizing that we're much more about like the sound of, it's not just the lyrics for us, it is specifically like the sound of the song.
or just like the function of the song too. Like I think just each album of theirs is such a vivid and well-defined world that it feels like we're both kind of as big fans of them, like in tune with how things exist as organisms populating
Absolutely.
that world. That's probably the most like pretentious thing I've ever said in my life. Jesus Christ. But
I've
Brockhampton
never
a lot.
related harder in my life. I have really like, I have deeply appreciated being able to do this with you specifically.
Oh,
Like,
likewise.
absolutely.
It's so fun to like this feels like when me and like Rin or Madison who also are in Spice Girls like talk about Dark Souls.
Oh yeah.
It's like talking about something I love so much with someone else that like obviously loves it so much.
You know, I've never played a Souls game, any of them.
They're super fun.
So I've heard.
What
I'm
kind of games like
I'm a sadist, not a masochist.
hey, you get a good build going, you can kind of be a sadist and like just do PvP.
Noted.
The most sadistic people I know do a FromSoft PvP.
Hell yeah.
Love Me for Life or Honey.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a contrarian. I'm gonna say Honey. I think Honey is so underrated.
It is.
Um, it was in that sweet spot too, where they were like doing something really weird because they had to break out of a funk, but they were fresh. They were like fresh off that RCA signing, and like probably could get a lot crazier like requests. It's like they cleared a fucking Beyonce.
This was supposed to be on Puppy for sure.
Mm-hmm. And they cleared a fucking. It's like they have a Beyonce sample and then a sample of like one of their own songs.
Yeah, this was the one that samples Bump. Yeah,
it's such a weird song to clear like a Beyonce sample for,
and it's literally just her going yes.
Mm-hmm. Like the metatextual element of the song, and also that it's also a really cool song that you don't hear them do a lot of like the pumping kind of shit.
With the
Yeah. Whoa. What's cool is like that's kind of almost a disco bass line just done with a synth gliding between octaves. Because it's sort of like boom, 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 boom. It's I could have been homeless. Oh, it's so good. Okay.
Team versus District.
I'm gonna say Team clear. If it was just the posse part of Team, you could make an argument for District.
But with
like,
the bareface
with the Ebony, oh my god! Also,
that falsetto.
It took me so long to realize that the second half of Ebony, like the shoegaze part, is in 6/8.
Yeah.
Because I was always trying to count it, and I was like, "Why the fuck? Like, where's the one?"
It goes waltzy on us. They threw in a waltz like for 30 seconds on this track.
This is like so unrelated to anything we're talking about, except for finding the one. But you know what song? I still don't know where the downbeat is, even though I've asked like countless people to explain it to me.
Tell me.
It's Black Dog by Led Zeppelin. I don't know where the one is on that song,
That's fair.
and it's so infectious to me because of that. So if anyone's watching this that could like tell me where the downbeat is on that song, please do, because I've been trying to find that for like more than 20 years now, and I feel embarrassed.
If there are any gay nerds watching my show,
Who fuck
perish
with
the
Led
fucking
Zeppelin?
thought.
Hey, no, real. That's our target audience.
Final one in round one. Don't shoot up the party versus Jesus.
Jesus is another one of my favorites that's really underrated. I know it's just like kind of almost an interlude, and Don't Shoot Up the Party is like the banger from that album.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus is so good.
I'm good with Jesus.
And she broke up with me because I'm a Cancer. Like I'm a Cancer, bitch. Like I feel that. I feel that so heavily in my soul.
That's the end of round one. Before we get into round two, guess what I am?
Are you a Sagittarius? Wait, you are? You are a Sag?
I am proud Sagittarius, baby.
I knew you were a Sag. That's fucking funny. You just seem very like, you're very like convicted, but like very kind.
Oh,
like you seem like in a completely neutral way, like about there are probably some things you're very stubborn about, but like you're very kind in your disposition and you're very empathetic towards people. That's like all the Sages I've met.
I don't know how to respond to that. That's the sweetest thing anybody's ever said to me on this show. Holy shit.
I've never been told. I'm glad the stubbornness part is also sweet because that's how I meant it. But yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
I've met a lot of Sages. Similar. I dated someone who their dad was a Sag and kind of like that. A good friend of mine is a Sag and she's like that. It's kind of a consistent energy I find in people.
Absolutely. Moving on to round two, Sugar versus Bleach.
That's like that's like the Batman versus Superman question, isn't it? I mean, this really comes down to like, were you there for saturation or were you there for like the TikTok ginger?
It's very much the Goblin versus Flower Boy of its day.
Yes. And they both kind of do the same thing, just what is popular. They both have the Ryan. Oh fuck, we're comparing like the two best like Ryan Beatty hooks.
Mm-hmm. Oh. This is in round two. This should be final four easy.
No. Okay, so I think the only thing that would edge one out over the other is the strength of the verses.
And in that case, I think Bleach is better.
I think Bleach is better. I do love Dom's verse on Sugar, especially for like what that song is. Mm-hmm. But Bleach to me is like a perfect fucking. It's got to be Bleach. I'm sorry. Absolutely. That the whole mood of that song is because also like Sugar. I think there's a very clear kind of vibe that's being pulled from that's maybe a little more familiar.
Sure.
Whereas like the first time I heard Bleach, it was like a fucking alien made that. Like I don't know what the fuck that even is, but it's really good.
Boogie versus Johnny.
I got to give it to Johnny. Out of the two. That's I feel like that's a hot take, but I stand on it.
Summer versus Swamp.
Summer easy.
We're going rapid fire through we'll get into like the final like four and final two. Let's go rapid fire through these ones.
This is another tough one, but I got to give it to Junkie. Gold has a chorus.
Yeah.
So like in that sense, you can't really compare them. Junkie just goes so hard as like an artistic statement.
No Halo versus 1999 Wildfire.
No Halo. Once again, Bareface part and the Deb Never part. Also, Merlin's singing on that is really gorgeous. Good.
New Orleans versus Rental. I gotta give it to Rental.
You're objectively right. I would have given it to New Orleans, but you are correct. Yeah. I feel like in terms of which is the better song.
Heat versus Queer.
Queer. That's my hot take. I keep saying that about fucking everything. I don't know what's a hot take anymore.
Everything is valid. You're wonderful. Everything's fine.
Hey,
Tokyo versus Buzzcut.
Tokyo. Any song that opens with bon. Too many things I'd rather do different. Welcome to the club.
Sunny.
Sunny. Hot take.
Bump versus Fake.
Bump.
San Marcos versus
San Marcos clears. San Marcos clears.
Alaska versus Teeth.
Alaska.
Dearly Departed versus Tanya. We did this to ourselves.
Dearly Departed.
Yeah.
part of me is that like it is like I gave it to Bleach over Sugar, so I feel like I got to get some Dom
Yeah,
like an excellent Dom moment representation in there, but also
absolutely.
like it's such an excellent fucking
It
piece
is
of storytelling.
heartbreaking.
Oh, that's
Sister Nation versus Gamba.
because I feel like those songs do the same thing too.
Yeah.
You could make an argument for Hottie doing that as well, I think, but oh,
I don't know what you think. Like Gamba is not even close to doing the same thing as Sister Nation IMO.
I just think in terms of like being the odd one out in the track list, like it gives
That's
you
fair.
something
That's
like
fair.
it gives you something really different to like contextualize what each member can do.
You want to go with Gamba just to piss people off?
Let's go with Gambit to piss
Yep.
people off. I would say Sister Nation on a different day though, because
Uh-huh.
also the specifically not just the scene, but the shot in Billy Star that they use Nation on of them like face to face on the football field is beautiful. Um,
Milk versus honey.
that's funny.
That's funny.
A
No, I
fu-
thought
funny
it. I thought
pair.
it too. That's funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Honey actually,
Yeah.
because out of those are both really underrated songs, and I think Honey's more underrated.
Team versus Jesus. I gotta go with team.
I want to say Jesus for this low key.
Let's take Jesus.
There's a harmony in that, even though
Yeah.
Team's fucking incredible. Team is so incredible, but there's one harmony at the end. Bareface on Jesus is insane.
Absolutely.
Oh, we're like in it now.
Yeah. Bleach versus Johnny.
It's a Bleach. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm glad we're both like Johnny stands because that song is really underrated, but like Bleach.
Yeah.
Bleach.
Summer versus Junkie.
Oh fuck. I'm gonna go Summer. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go Summer. I think that's a goated Brockhampton song. I mean, they both are, but like,
No Halo versus Rental.
I mean, it's Rental, but I'm not like all the way happy that it's Rental, but it is Rental.
It's
I
Rental.
think you know.
Queer versus Tokyo.
Oh. For me, it's Queer.
Queer.
Like by such a slim margin.
For sure. Listen, we put Tokyo higher than a lot of other people have. And like we gave Tokyo the respect it deserves, according to the super fans. Sunny versus Bump.
I'm gonna go Sunny. Low
Yep.
key.
San Marcos versus Alaska.
San Marcos. Once again, like I would love to give it to Alaska, but it's San Marcos there.
Dearly Departed versus Gamba.
It's Dearly Departed.
Departed.
Realistically,
Yeah.
um,
Honey versus Jesus.
hey, honestly, hot take
Honey.
Jesus. You think so?
Hold on.
Okay. Actually, I think there is a case to be made for that. I would give it to Jesus, but I feel like
It's a great Kevin only song. Is the thing with Jesus.
and Bareface on it.
Yeah, let's go with Jesus.
Let's do it just to shake it up.
Yep. Elite Eight. Bleach versus Summer.
I mean, this is probably the best example of like to me, it's Bleach. I would love to give it to Summer,
It's Bleach.
but like Bleach is like just a fucking all timer.
Uh-huh. Rental versus Queer. The pain.
I literally can't bring myself to do it. I think I gotta give this decision to you. I literally can't. I can't.
1 second.
I believe in you. This is me being avoidant right now. I can't choose between Rental and Queer. Rental, let's do it. I forget what there was one that I wanted to do that on too earlier.
Yeah.
Good call.
See, I am not avoidant. I will fix the problem immediately.
That's kind of, if you think about it though, what you just did kind of illustrates a good cure for avoidance that I feel like I should definitely employ sometimes, which is like at the end of the day, like just make a decision.
Just make a fucking decision.
Like, no, real shit. Oh,
Sunny versus San Marcos. You got to take this one.
Once again,
I know where I want to go.
It's got to be San Marcos.
Yeah.
I would love to give it to Sunny there, but it's San Marcos.
Dearly Departed versus Jesus.
I mean, it's probably due. It's Dearly Departed. It's Dearly Departed.
We are representing 4 different records on this one.
Hey,
No, wait, we're not because I forgot.
because those are from 3.
Bleacher and Rental are both from 3. I forgot to switch up the Bleach thing. Bleach versus Rental.
I mean, like it's once again it's Bleach.
It's Bleach.
I'd love to give it to Rental. Rental is fantastic. Bleach is Bleach. Like once again, like yes. Oh shit! Between the two,
it's between Bleach and San Marcos.
Honestly, like I'm sorry, I'm going with the normie take. Like it's Bleach between the two. Like that is just it's like an all-timer song versus an excellent song to me. You know what I mean?
This is really rough.
I'm curious. I'm curious to know your take on it, though.
Here's my thing, and here's what. It's because my reason for it is completely subjective because I have that experience with Bleach at Boston Calling.
Yes.
And because that has such sadness to me, and having San Marcos be that like complete opposite, like San Marcos just feels so hopeful to me. But I also,
you know what though? I think we're existing at a time in which a little hopefulness is good. So I think we should give it to San Marcos today.
The best Brockhampton song is San Marcos, according to myself and Estelle Allen. I am pleased as punch with that one. I cannot lie.
That was tough. There were some really like tense decisions to be made in that. It was a good bracket.
This was a good bracket. This has been one of my favorite episodes, period.
Oh, hell yeah.
Estelle, thank you so much for being on the show. Where can people find you?
Veronika, of course. Thank you for having me. I am fucking Scalene _4, like the triangle. Scalene, not 4, is the triangle. But on Instagram and TikTok, I am 2 underscores crunge, like the Led Zeppelin song, on x.com.
X, the everything app.
The fucking everything app. Love it. Yeah, but fucking and my music is on all streaming services. I got a bunch of records out. Check them out, and I hope you like them.
You can find links to all of Estelle's stuff in the description down below, as well as my link tree, where you can find links to all of my socials, as well as the newest video and audio version of this very podcast.
Hey,
if you like this episode, please comment what your favorite Brockhampton song is, what you think should have won. Please make sure to subscribe on all video and audio platforms. If you really like the show, please consider pledging to the Cuddlepunk Podcast Patreon. That's the Cuddlepunk. That's patreon.com/the Cuddlepunk Podcast. The music for the Cuddlepunk Podcast, our theme song, is Lose a Turn by Modify. You can find her links in the description. The logo for the Cuddlepunk Podcast is done by Lauren Young, and you can find her Instagram handle down in the description. Estelle Allen, thank you so much for being on this episode.
Of course, thank you so much for having me. I had a blast.